After you've worked in your pajamas all day, it gets old after a while, right?
Unfortunately, we were unable to raise any funds, but we had planned for a physical workspace also.
Our head of finance works from Bangalore. Our head of sales works from Delhi. Technology, we're hiring largely in Hyderabad.
How are you talking to your people? How are you managing to get things done internally? And that was a topic that was totally off my mind because we've been doing this for a few years now.
What's interesting for me is, most companies, tech companies, can think of themselves as saying, you know what, we're building product. We don't need to actually have a physical location. And we could sit at a co-working space, at home, at a coffee shop, anywhere else, right? How do guys in the co-working space business think about that?
Yeah. So the space, honestly, so it serves more functions than just infrastructure, right? So even before, it's like if you go back to February, about 25% of our members were part-timers, single person. About 25% were team size of 4 or smaller, right? Who typically have the option of working from coffee shops or working from home and so on. But many of them, they were in the space for a reason, right? Because the infrastructure side, there's also this. I've done contract work before and so on, and you get fried at home after a while, right? So there's the sense of community, there's the sense of separation of after you've worked in your pajamas all day, it gets old after a while, right? So the sense of separation of, there's some structure in my life. I leave home and then I go work somewhere, and there's a discipline that comes with that, and then I come back home, right? So different people have different reasons. Obviously, a lot of that's going to change, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later in the show. But it's never been a challenge for us, right? We've tailored for that. We have, we always had almost a quarter of our customers who thought that way even before this. So if it's going to become like 70% overnight, that's not an issue in the long term, right? Short term, of course, there's a lot of other stuff going on.
And riffing off what Anand's saying, my personal experience here, so not the tech entrepreneur, but I think it'll vibe with a lot of those folks too, is that most of us are in smaller spaces, especially in the bigger cities. We've got a lot of folks as an example, I had 6 people through most of this lock-in, 6 adults, and I was in a 3-bedroom apartment, and we didn't have enough space to be able to do a conference call. I would not be able to have one room to myself, basically. So there was no way I could peacefully do one. And then you ride on top of that internet issues and infrastructure challenges, power outages, those sorts of things. I think it's a possibility, but if all your stars line up, and that doesn't seem to happen. So I think for most people, you could work for a couple of hours, you could work maybe for a couple of days, but you can't just permanently work from home. You do need to get out somewhere. Of course, there's the mental state of well-being, but there's all this infrastructure and just need for space, real-world challenges, right? So I believe co-working or a similar second place is required for a person to be able to manage their home and work life. Not going to be able to do that all at home.